I'm Robert McCready at Evening Magic. Pam Van Dyke is a writer, an editor, a wife, a mom, a sister. She has a PhD, loves dogs, loves walking. She's a North Carolinian, a friend of mine in real life and on social media. Pam Van Dyke. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Robert.
Thank
Are you
just
going to tell
for
your listeners how we met?
I will. We met in graduate school.
Yeah, we did.
And and that's actually, it's been a while since we've taught, and I just wanted to make sure that I have your name right.
Yeah,
What was your name again? Your first name?
you tell. I'm going to see if you remember it. You go ahead.
Pan.
Pam.
Pan,
Pam.
like
Pam.
comb.
It's Pam.
Panum. Panum.
Like Pam. It's like
With two
Pam.
M's.
It Pam.
Okay. Oh, Pam. Pam, just say it next time.
That was how
Just
we met. That was how we met. You asked me my name, and I told you my name, and I was like, "What is wrong with him?"
and then
Here, it was in our first. It was like our introductory seminar kind of or orientation seminar or something, and we became fast friends,
we did.
and we
Um,
had a lot of fun in our during our residencies.
right, that was during our creative writing school. And then later
Yeah.
that week, we were at the bar in that hotel, and you said, "This is my new friend." You were introducing me to this other lady, and you said, "Rupert." And I said, "No, Robert." And you were like, and then I realized you got me good. And I think I got
Uh,
into my phone as Pam with two M's.
I think of myself as Pamum, to be honest, and whenever and sometimes Ted calls me Pamum now, and it caught on. It's a thing. It's a thing.
I love that. Where are you zooming us from?
So I'm in my home office in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is where our company also is. Yeah, this is where I work. It's where I do my, I mean, it's pretty tidy right now. I cleaned up because I knew I would be on camera. But if I move my chair too much, you'll see the real mess going on. So if I seem like I'm sort of like this, it's because I don't want you to see what's behind me, which is piles and piles and piles of manuscripts.
That's that's kind of my situation too. There's just stuff on the wall that I'm blocking with my head.
Yeah.
Um,
Good. Well, I'm glad I'm not the only one.
so what are you drinking right now?
So because it's summertime and I'm a beer drinker, you might remember that I'm drinking a low calorie, low carb IPA. And I'm only doing the low calorie, low carb right now because it's also low alcohol. And I knew I had to speak. So I thought I better keep it under control. Later, when we're done, I'll switch to the big girl beers.
I remember during graduate school, I would say, okay, tonight I'm only going to have one Boilermaker, which is like the strongest one you could have.
It's
There's a
so
shot in
true.
there.
It's so true. I do remember that. I remember we were at dinner one night and at that dive bar, taverny kind of place. And I'm like, I'll have a Miller Lite, or you're like, I'll have a Boilermaker. And they brought you one and you
They
drank
did.
it.
It was fun. Is that when we went with Phyllis?
Yes, I think so. Maybe Melissa. And all your listeners are like, who are these people? Phyllis, Melissa. We don't care about them.
They can go and Google. These are all people that they can read if they hear the name that they want to know about.
Exactly.
They can,
Exactly.
they can stalk our Twitters and our Facebooks and then go through the friend list and then see
Right.
what's inviting them.
Right. Like, let's look
I'm
up
just
that
having a
Queen's
Shirley.
MFA. Queen's MFA. Yeah, let me see. Let me see. I
I'm
think
just
one
having a
time
Shirley Temple.
I like that. And those are the fancy, expensive cherries.
They are
I noticed you're not using a regular straw. Good for you.
right. Yeah,
It's
I
the
don't.
metal straw.
I don't like buying straws. I don't like all that waste. And
Those are probably really good stirrers and straws. But
and
I saw you on one of your interviews, you were drinking water out of a beautiful glass. And I was like, that's classy.
oh, thank you. I'm against fluoride now, so I don't have the filter that gets rid of fluoride, but I will, um, because Like, why are they putting in the water? I mean, people still lose their teeth. And I found out that my county is fluoridated, but not every city.
Oh,
So like, it just, and the cities that don't have, they say that fluoride makes us a little bit more submissive. And the places that don't have fluoride are more wild in Florence County.
really?
Mhm.
Okay, I'm definitely going to Google that. I'm fact checking that
Yeah,
because I kind of want to know if that's true. I'm sure, pretty sure we're fluoridated in Wake County, the entire county. Well, at least anybody on city or city water, it's not county, city water, Raleigh. But I have one of those reverse osmosis water filters that has like four filters on it, four filtration system. It just sits on the counter. I fill it up. The water tastes delicious. I just got one of those soda streams, so I make my own bubbly water. And yeah,
that's interesting.
I'm trying to drink more water. That's the whole point of me telling you all this because like I carry this around. My personal trainer calls it my emotional support water bottle because every time I'm like, here it is. Because if I don't have it right in front of me, I just won't drink water. I'll go hours and the whole day will go by and I've been sitting at my desk and it's just not good, got to hydrate from within.
You do. I had that same water bottle, but I eventually broke it and dropped it and broke it. And now I fill up, every day while at work, which I'm getting tons of fluoride there and everyone else's germs from it. But
You probably are.
so it cancels out. I found out from this one woman on Twitter. Um, I think her name is Dr. Zephyr. I can't quite remember how to pronounce her name, but she just did a casual Google, when do we start fluoridating the water? And it was sometime like 1948. And then she did a casual Google of when do we start the 8 glasses of water a day? And it was the same year that we fluoridated the water. And I just started thinking about it, and I thought they did it to help our teeth, but people still lose their teeth, so it didn't help. And why do they care about our teeth? Like, did they
It's a
just
good
like have a
question.
big meeting? Oh, our people's teeth, we really have to, this is a big problem. We got to help their teeth. I mean, there are other things like heart attacks that, well, I
Right.
guess they got together and did that too, but it just seems teeth seem minor. Yeah, I love my
It,
teeth,
it,
but
I love my teeth too. It does seem it now, now that when you lay it out like that, it does make you, it's a head scratcher a little bit.
right.
I never think about fluoride in my water. But I can see that it's something that's been on your mind, and I think you should stay away from it if you don't believe in fluoride.
Well, I used to believe in it. Like, I had the extra fluoride toothpaste that I got from the dentist
Yeah,
because it's supposed to strengthen your teeth and stuff. And then I had a friend from New York, and um and his mother was a homeopath, and he had a filter to filter out the fluoride, and they had EMF
yeah,
protectors on their
yeah.
electronics and stuff. And I was like,
I have a very good friend who practices functional medicine. She's an MD, but she also is got a thing about current dental practice. She thinks we all who are older than a certain age, and I fall into that category, have mercury fillings in our teeth, which might be contributing to like high levels of heavy metals. And she believes totally in not drinking city water. It's like you have to get the most filtered water you can get. So, I mean, there is something about that, I mean, she went to med school and she's clearly smart. So, you know,
it's like the reverse osmosis water. I've got another friend, Lucretia Life Coach. Her daughter, Jasmine, I can't remember, Jasmine Adele. She's on Instagram and she sells these the reverse osmosis water. I think. I hope I'm not saying it the wrong way, but there's all these little microplastic. Like, everybody has plastic in
yeah,
themselves,
yeah, they do. They
and
do.
I don't like that.
I don't either. It's kind of scary too when you think about it. I did read a study recently, or maybe I didn't read the study, but I saw an article about microplastics in breast milk and, you know, thing just it's everywhere. I mean, we're surrounded by plastic. It's all in the ocean. It's all, you know, it's just everywhere. We use a lot of plastic. I'm trying to stay away from plastic. Are you? Are you doing your part?
Yeah, I'm doing as much as I can. I don't like to drink out of plastic. I just like glass. I got the metal straw. They even had a
Yeah.
silicone version. I was like, I just want the metal.
Yeah.
Which I guess this is heavy metal getting me. I hope not. I felt like it would break down less. Who knows? But I I have a great repurpose for my plastic bags, and I use them to
Okay.
pick up dog poop.
Yes, we do
Which
that too. We do that too. We use them to do that. And I switched out, this is glass. This is a glass. I switched out all my kitchen plastic, like containers and things with glass.
Mhm.
Um, we try not to, like, you know, like if you get salad stuff, for example, if you go get a box of lettuce, we try not to, is we try to get the bag and then just save one of those, like put it in a, you know, a different container when we get it home. But I also, you know, the tops of things like strawberry containers and blueberry containers and things like that. So I have a new hobby. I've been doing a lot of printmaking, and I use the tops of those plastic things. I can etch into them with like an etching needle, and I can make prints from them. So I do keep that. If I get them, I keep them and make little, like I'll draw, you know, make little prints and whatnot.
There is I'm kind of a minimalist, and my house is almost Spartan. Like it's more than minimalist because there are just certain things I have to be able to do, like dress and sleep and keep it clean. And I just try to live in a way that makes that easier. And in doing that, like I don't dry my clothes. I just dry clothes I don't care about, and like underwear and socks, things that would, carry more bacteria, and everything else I dry on a drying rack. And people say when they come over, oh, you're saving so much energy. I am. I don't want to spend the extra money. I don't want to
Yeah,
ruin my clothes faster.
right.
But on the other hand, I'm also, you know, I'm conserving in a way. And you can kind of think about things. If you just do things as easy as possible that come to you, you're
Yeah,
gonna get a bunch of waste in your house. Look at hoarders. Those
yeah,
people are just doing the most, they're doing the easiest thing. And really, if you just think about what you want to bring into your house, what you want to have,
yeah.
that book that was popular, about the folding the things, Marie Kondo's
Oh,
book,
yeah, yeah,
that's kind of what led me down to just thinking about what I wanted. I did the minimalist challenge a couple of months where I got rid of one thing and then doubled it
yeah,
again. And I don't want to go back. I like just having a little bit of stuff. I don't want to have a bunch of stuff that I don't want. It's all crap too. Like, you go to
yeah,
Walmart, you go in there for one thing, you spend $40 and it's all
yeah,
crap.
yeah. No, I'm glad you mentioned that. I was gonna ask you what made you decide to, I mean, you've been to my house, you know, I don't live with a minimalist. We have a lot of stuff. But at the same time, I sort of have a new rule about my books, for example. Because I have a problem with books. I'm always wanting to buy books. Because I like the way they look, and I like to read a book instead of an electronic device. It just might, I think maybe because I'm getting older or something. But now, see how my books are color coded a little bit
They're beautiful.
by the spines. Thank you. Now, if I buy a book and I want to keep it, I have to decide. Okay, first of all, if there's no room for it, like on the one of the blue shelves, for example, people are going to think I'm nuts. But I can't keep it unless I'm willing to get rid of one of the other books on there. So I have to really think about, do I like this one better than all the other ones, you know, than at least one of the other ones on there? And so that's how I'm going about it. So I'm just, because my book purchasing was out of control.
I
I
understand.
think I thought
Bibliomania.
I was going to die under a pile, like my bedside table. It's just, if it fell over in the middle of the night on me, I would be suffocated, just like that New Yorker cartoon.
Well,
Have you seen that?
I haven't seen that, but I understand it. I've got three books on my nightstand. I have another table that I set up that has maybe four books on there and my Kindle. I have a bookshelf right over here. You can't see it. And then I
Yeah,
have two bookshelves in this little crazy room that's like a square in the middle of my house. And I have one that's everything's been read and one everything waiting to be read.
Yeah.
And I definitely think about, can I fit this on my already read shelf? And then
Yeah.
I'll donate it, downtown. And plus, those little libraries that are set up.
Yeah. Yeah. The little free libraries. Yeah.
Yeah, I love putting something in there because I want other people to read a book, and I want, like,
Yeah.
you should read this. Like, we're book people, we're writers, and
Yeah.
we want to read books, and we want to tell people to read books, and we want to talk about it.
It's so true. It's so true. I feel like half of my conversations are about books and or something, or what someone's working on, what their writing is right now, what they're if they're writing a novel or if they're writing essays or short stories. And I feel like I don't know about you. When we were in our in our Master of Fine Arts program in creative writing, felt like such a creative time because we had to produce work as part of that curriculum. And then we got out and I kind of dropped off the writing train a little bit. I just wasn't, we were we have a friend group, listeners, we have a friend group, me, Robert, and some other people. And we were doing some of this 1,000-word stories and things like that. But I'd say like being work, I think I've figured out that maybe I'm a better editor than I am a writer, and I like that part of the process. And I think that's my sciencey brain, probably. So I feel like I found a place for my skills that are writing, tangent. Is that the right word? Writing adjacent. And then, so I feel like I'm part of the writing community, even if I'm not always actively writing. And I'm rarely actively writing. So what about you? Are you doing a lot of writing these days?
I am. I'm writing more nonfiction than I am fiction, and I find myself wanting to read more nonfiction than fiction.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a novelist, though. I like that word,
Mhm.
novelist.
Mhm.
And I
It's a
also
very, it rolls right off the tongue.
right. And also that movie She Devil with Roseanne Barr and Meryl Streep and
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Ed Begley Jr.
I
Meryl
haven't seen it.
Streep is this romance novelist, um and she just seems like she's got a great life, just relaxing and typing.
Yeah.
They always do writers the same way, like Barbara Thorndike on Golden Girls. And do you remember that?
They're
And she
they're always just typing and
just
yeah,
relaxed. And
relaxed and
I think
like I'm
Designing Women
organized.
had a writer, and she was like, "I'm gonna go take my evening bath." So I'm like,
I'm gonna start saying that I'm gonna be like, I'm going to go take my evening bath. I have to say, I think
yes.
writing is so hard. I, you know, you can tell from my signature on my Zoom page that I am in publishing and we take submissions all year long. But we do acquisitions quarterly, and I bet we get between one acquisitions meeting and the next, I bet we get 500 submissions, and some of them are just bad. But even so, my hat's off to anyone who can finish a book. Write a book from start to finish is a job, even if it could still use a little work, or maybe it's just not quite there yet. But I'm impressed with people who can get that done.
You know who's been putting out a lot of books from our, not quite our cohort, but adjacent? Is it Ellen Burkett or Ellen Burkett Morris? Is that her name?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You got a second novel coming out.
Yeah.
I was like, look at her.
Yeah, she definitely has. And Shuli, our
Yes.
mutual friend Shuli Kaywood, has had several books come out, and her short story collection, A Small Thing to Want, was published by one of our neighbor publishers in Winston-Salem, Press 53.
Mhm.
And I saw her publisher last weekend at a conference, and he just loves Shuli. And I love that collection. I don't know if you've had a chance to read it, but I highly recommend. And I thought her essay collection was also really great.
I have the essay collection, the one that was called What the Fortune Teller Would Have Said.
There's that one, and then there was before that she had one that with the black cover and the pink
Oh, yeah, I
writing.
read that one.
It was so good. I'm trying to see if I can.
I always say the wrong thing. I
Yeah,
call it
maybe.
something that it's not. Going and
Well,
Goodbye,
yes, that's it. That's right.
or is it Gone
Going and
and
goodbye.
Goodbye?
think it's going and goodbye.
That
Going,
is
gone, gone, going, goodbye.
sorry, Shuli.
Should I text her right now?
Yeah, Dexter. We were at AWP, and I was like, "This is my friend Shuli. Her book's called whatever it was," and she said, "No, it's called this." But I always get my friends' books wrong, and so I've accepted that they're going to get mine wrong when it comes out. But that book
We
is one of
will.
the very best memoirs I've ever read.
I
And
loved it.
I also loved. I've got the short story collection. I haven't read it, and I read What the Fortune Teller Would Have Said. I loved
I
that.
love that too. I love
Yeah.
that too.
I love the size of it. It was big. It was like
I
a
know. It was a pretty, it was like a nice, not your traditional trade paperback shape, which I thought was really cool.
mhm.
Well, we need to ask her. You need to have Shuli on as a
She's
guest
coming.
because oh, good, because
Yeah.
it would be really interesting to find out. I don't think I'm making this up, but maybe I am. I think her dad had a publishing company or maybe small. And I feel like that is the company that published what the fortune teller would have said or told me, something like that. Um, Ask her about it.
I will. I'm thinking I'm gonna have her around September, but
Yeah.
this is our ninth episode, and
Oh,
I wanted Pam Van Dyke to be number nine.
I love it.
This is her favorite number,
It
or
is. I
lucky
have
number.
nine letters in my name, Pam Van Dyke. You know, it's all perfect.
I
I
love
love it.
I love your the way your name looks on your email, because I read it as Pam Vandyke.
So does my friend Stephanie. She calls me that.
Pam Vandyke.
She's like, Pam Vandy K, where are we going tonight for dinner or whatever?
I
So
love that.
it does kind of look like that. There's a bluegrass band called Green Sky Bluegrass, and every time I see it, I see Green Ski Bluegrass every single time. There's something about that Y. There's something about that Y on there that just it just throws everybody off.
Right.
Mm. Blame it on my husband.
I wish that we lived close enough that I could say, Pam Vandyke, where are we going to dinner?
I know. Well, you'll have to come see me soon.
I will.
Now that the pandemic is hope never going away, but at least maybe it's just endemic now and we can work around
Right.
it.
Maybe like everybody gets it and they don't even know they've got it anymore.
Yeah. Right. Have you had COVID?
I had it one time and it ruined my Christmas. And then
Oh,
I was feeling weird a couple of days ago and I thought I had it again, but I took a COVID test and I didn't have it. Um, but then I was wondering if I have allergies. It was weird. The I got tested for allergies and I didn't have any, but during the pandemic, from wearing the mask, I kept on getting recurrent pharyngitis. And
yeah.
the my ear, nose, and throat person, he gave me allergy medication and I got better. And so then I said, well, let's test for allergies. You have to quit taking the medicine, and they tested it, and I wasn't allergic to anything. So I think it
Yeah.
was because of that. But a couple of days ago, I started just feeling weird, and like my eyes were itchy and stuff, and so I thought, oh no, what if I have COVID? But I don't. So I guess I'm old enough now that I'm developing allergies again to
You
something.
you might actually be doing that. Yeah. We got it in January for the first time. We've
Mm,
done all the vaccines and boosters and everything. And I'm sorry that this keeps making noise. We went to visit my daughter in New Orleans.
mhm,
So we were kind of asking for it because it was like the first weekend. It wasn't full on Mardi Gras, but it was the first weekend. We went to the one of the first parades, the Chewbacca's parade, which is like all Star Wars themed. And
mhm.
it was packed and the streets were packed. And we were just out there hooting and hollering. And then 2 nights later, Ted had a little sore throat. My husband had some sore throat, and I had a little sore throat. I'm like, this feels a little weird. We got home, and then Grace called and said, "Oh, I have COVID," and I was like, "Oh." So we tested and we were positive.
So that was the first time, January
Mhm.
2023.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah,
interesting. When you were in New Orleans, then were you there for the Joan of Arc parade?
I was there for, let's see, I don't think so, but the night before the Chewbacca's parade there's one, I think it's called the Goddess Parade, maybe, and that was cool. It was really small, but they threw out these. Maybe I have them here actually. They threw out these really cool gifts. I'll show you. I
Oh,
actually
please do.
saved all my Mardi Gras stuff.
When
I
the
got
Joan
some
of,
good stuff, man.
I'll talk while you're pulling that up. When I was at the Joan of Arc parade, which was like 2015, my mom and I went. They threw out Fireball candy. Oh wow!
It's a painted oyster shell with a
That's beautiful.
pearl on it. Because you know the goddess with the
Yeah.
and then I got this is just one little bag. I have other stuff, but I got these matches. This was at the Chewbacca's parade. These little it's a painted matchbox with little
Mhm.
matches in it. I got this. I don't, it's a
A
keyring.
keychain.
Yeah, a keychain. And I got these are beautiful beads.
Good. And by the way, your arm looks great.
Oh, thank you. I've been working out.
Oh, I can tell. Great.
So that's my show and tell from Mardi Gras. And then my daughter told us we couldn't stay any longer than that. We had to leave.
Uh, Thanks, Mom, Dad. Love y'all later.
Yeah, no, she was like, you can come for that weekend and then you have to go because then it gets really crazy. And so tell me about what was the parade that you were talking about? The
Joan
Joan
of
of
Arc.
Arc?
Yeah, because she was burned at the stake, and
Right, right.
they threw fireball candy. They threw fireball mini bottles. And
Wow.
I just loved how I love how irreverent New Orleans is. It's
I do
like we're
too.
just gonna
I do
go
too.
ahead and make the jokes about it.
I do too. I love
So,
it. It's fun. It's so much fun. And it's like, it's just a different place. It's not like any other place I've ever been in the United States. It's very, I don't know. I just loved it. We stayed right on Dauphine Street. We usually rent an air. My daughter finds us a place not too far from her, but place she thinks we would enjoy. And she always picks these great places with great locations, and we can walk around and do all the things. Right, we're just a couple blocks from. No, I don't know. Never mind. I said we stayed on Dauphine, but now that I said that, I don't think it's right. We are just a couple blocks from Frenchman Street,
mhm.
which is super fun.
I
Yeah,
of course I fell in love with Angèle from Lafitte's.
I
And I wrote
remember.
her fan mail, and we still keep in contact. And every Christmas I send her a bouquet of flowers.
Oh my gosh. And she's quite old, isn't she?
She might be, she's in her late 70s now, but
Where does she play?
um,
There, do you know?
she was at Lafitte's and then she went to Irene's. And I don't
Mm.
know where she plays now, but I went home and I Googled her songs and I found her album. The first time I went home, got her album, and then I went back and I requested her songs. And she said, "It's freaking me out that you know my songs." And then she just kept on playing and would sing.
Oh, I love it.
And but she had so much passion.
Yeah.
I just knew she was great, and my mother liked her. I took my mom. I took Caleb when I did a half marathon there, and we just I kept on taking people to Angèle, and everybody loved her, and she
I
was
love that. I'm gonna try to find her when next time we go. We're probably going in November
okay.
to
I
see
need to
her.
go back.
Yeah.
'Cause I need to see her. And sometimes she'll send me videos of her playing, and her dog starts barking during the video. So she says, "It's me and Tina." And then she's playing her
Her
songs.
dog's name is Tina.
Yes. Might be for Tina Turner.
Oh, maybe.
Um,
You know.
but getting back to your writing and your editing,
Yeah.
because I'm curious about that. What kind of things does Regal House publish?
So we primarily publish literary fiction. I mean that's the biggest chunk of our catalog. We have another imprint called Fitzroy Books, and that is our middle grade and young adult books. And I don't do a lot of editing for those because I don't read those, so I'm not really familiar with kind of what the I don't acquire them because I don't read them, and so if I don't acquire them, I also don't edit them. But and then we have a social justice imprint called Pact Press where we do primarily anthologies around social justice issues. Like our last one was during the pandemic, and it was called Heroics, HER in caps, OICS. And it was women's lived experiences during the coronavirus pandemic about being caretakers and nurses and this and that. We've done one on like the opioid crisis. And so anyway, that's a whole separate thing. What I really do primarily is literary fiction and the occasional essay collection or memoir, but we just don't publish much of that. So,
What's your favorite kind of story to get?
oh, so I love really dark stuff. Like I like dark literary. And we're getting ready to publish a novella. We started a novella contest this year or last year. But before we started that contest, we got a novella in called Let Gravity Seize the Dead by a writer out of the Midwest called, his name is Darren Doyle. He teaches writing at, I want to say, University of Minnesota, but that might be wrong. You'll have to Google him. Anyway, he wrote this novella about this family who goes to, they inherit this land that has a cabin on it, and it's like family land, and it's a little bit about intergenerational trauma, and it's just so creepy. I mean, it's like gothic. So that's what I really love. I mean, my business partner and our editor in chief, Janie, she loves historical fiction, and she loves to acquire that. I like contemporary fiction. Uh, and if it's historical, it has to feel very contemporary to me, or I'm just not that interested. Like I recently read a book called The Whalebone Theater, which is a 600-page historical novel, and it was fantastic because it just didn't feel like historical fiction. It was just, you could just tell the writer was enjoying writing that book, and it was good. So yeah, that's primarily what I do, and I do that for a big chunk of my day. But I also spend a part of my day going through submissions. Right now we have a contest going on, so I'm sort of managing that. I spend another part of my day doing the business side of publishing, which is bookkeeping and looking at sales data and trying to figure out, right now we're in the middle of doing all of our royalties spreadsheets so we can send royalty statements out in October. And so there's just a lot of the other parts of it that I also really enjoy. And I'm on the board of the Independent Book Publishers Association, their advocacy committee. I'm not on their big board. I'm on one of the committees. And so I do a lot of interaction with other publishers as part of that, which is really fun. There are a lot of small publishers out there, and so it's kind of cool to be able to interact with them. And so I spend part of my time doing that. And yeah, I mean, it's more than 40 hours a week. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on, and I encourage anybody who's listening who has a novel. I think everybody really wants to get an agent. We can talk about that too if you want. And agents are great. And you do need one if you want to publish with one of the big presses, or even maybe one of the mid-list, or mid-size, like Gray Wolf. So they're kind of the gatekeepers. But there's a lot of small publishers out there that do not require agent representation. I think about 30% of our catalog might have agent representation, and the rest of them don't. So if you're coming out of an MFA program and your goal is to get an agent because you think that's the best way to get into, like Simon and Schuster, who just got bought out by a private equity firm, or Penguin Random House or something like that. That is a great goal to have, and you should shoot for the stars. But if you struggle making that happen, then I would say look at the next level down, because we're putting out beautiful books and our authors are great to work with. We have a great author community. I think we have almost 300 authors. And there are other ways to publish your novel besides getting an agent. So
I recently heard that um, Penguin Random House got rid of all of their legacy editors, including Victoria. I don't remember her last name, but she edited Anne Rice.
Oh,
Like she retired, they got rid of all of them. And then I kind of thought, what's going to happen to the publishing industry?
yeah.
And then, but then I remembered, Regal House, and then Shambauer in Boulder.
Yeah, that's probably right.
And thank you. That was.
I mean, I don't know it. So I'm just going to say that's right. Whatever you just said is the right way to say it.
But I think about that one because it published Writing on the Bones, which has sold 2 million copies. So it was a little thing that's now huge. And then I think about the publisher that published Gloria Naylor's last novel, 1996. It was an independent Black press that she went to
Yeah,
because they wouldn't publish her book about the government stalking her.
right.
And I think there's a little bit more room for like maybe real literature and some bravery and doing something a little crazy. And I want something a little crazy. I want to read something a little crazy. I want to write
Yeah.
something crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that. I actually, because it's one of the things about independent presses that I think makes them a good option for certain kinds of books. You know, if your book doesn't fit in sort of what I call like mainstream fiction, you know, if it's only going to be picked up by an agent if they feel like they can sell it to a big publisher because that's how they make their money. So they're passing on a lot of really good stuff because it just doesn't fit that profile for them. And then that stuff comes to us. And so, you know, sometimes we're publishing books that like we published a book last year called Oranges for Magellan about a guy who like his goal in life is to break the pole sitting record. It's a novel. It's also very smart. Like he reads a lot and he's quoting all the, you know, Shakespeare and all these different writers. And it's just, but I could see why an agent wouldn't pick that up. It just is so it's quirky and a little, you know, it just doesn't fit the mold. So I think you're right. I think those small presses can take things and be a little braver about it. And maybe you want to take something that's controversial that a big publisher wouldn't touch. And remember too, you know, it's a business. I mean, publishing is a bit the business is to sell books. And so if you're a big publisher and you don't feel like there's a way to sell that book, you won't take it. Whereas we know our sales numbers are going to be lower. We've never had like a bestseller, and we probably won't because that's just kind of not where we are in the hierarchy of publishing. You know, but for us, if you sell 1,000 copies, we're happy. I mean, that for us, that's fine. Whereas if you were with a big publisher, and we have some authors who've come from a big publishers and who've come to us because we have this lovely author in New York City, Stephanie Cowell, who wrote Claude and Camille about Monet and Monet's wife and her lover. I'm not sure. And she published it with Viking or one of those, and it sold 20,000 copies, which to us would have been amazing. And they didn't think that was enough. So with her second book, they didn't pick it up.
Mm.
So now we're publishing Boy in the Rain. And yeah, so people just trickle down to the small presses. But we're at this point because we have a catalog of around 300 books. I mean, I think we're no longer considered like a small press. We're sort of small to mid-sized at this point. Staff-wise, though, we're small.
Um, you said something that I thought was interesting. You said about the book from, I think it was the Midwest author. You said you could
Yeah.
tell the author really enjoyed writing the book. Um, how is that what you think the secret to writing is just have fun writing it?
I think so. So I was actually referring to the Wellbone Theater when I said that, but I mean I can tell Darren enjoyed writing Let Gravity Seize the Dead. His is very dark. Here's the thing. It's like you can always you know how we talk in writing about flow, about getting into the flow state where you're writing and you're not thinking about anything else. You're not noticing like the clock ticking or you're not checking your watch or your phone. It's you can almost see that on the page. It's almost like you're reading a book and you just you don't feel the writer's hand. I mean, it's not like you're like reading and you think, oh, I can see the writer struggling with that word, or whether to make this a long paragraph or a short one, or whether to punctuate here or there. You just that all just falls away with really good writing. It's like you've done, how it is. You pick up a book, you're immersed immediately, and you've forgotten that somebody actually sat down and typed that or wrote it by hand. It's like the characters are alive, and you can tell that in the first 5 to 10 pages of a book. Almost the first two, honestly.
So that's what you look for then when you're going to the slush pile.
Here's me. I do it. It's online, but let's just say this is the manuscript. Like if I'm on page one, and I keep going on page two, page three. I just keep like if I don't feel compelled to stop reading and I keep reading, that's a really good sign that it's a book that I'm engaged in and really like and will likely ask for the full manuscript.
If
And
someone
then,
watching
and then
this,
anything happens after that.
if someone watching this right now wants to submit to you, what should they do?
They should go to our website, which is regalhousepublishing.com. And there's a tab for submissions, and there the guidelines are there. And we do everything through Submittable. So you can submit there, and our submissions are almost always open unless, for example, our novel contest is going on, then we close our regular submissions for novels. And then we open them back up when the contest ends. So, but yes, I encourage you to do that. And the other thing too is when you please read the guidelines. So, and I say that because I gave a talk to an MFA program at Converse College in May at the end of their residency. And I was trying to explain it without making it sound mean, but I'm going to say it. And it isn't mean, but it's important for people to know. We get, as I said earlier, we get so many submissions, maybe 500 more or less, depending on what's going on. And I just need a reason to say no. It makes my job so much easier if I can mark that one off really fast. So if we're like 12-point font and double spaced, and I get something that's 10-point font and single spaced, I'm just like, I'm sorry. I mean, it says right on there, double spaced, 12-point font. And if you didn't care enough to read the submission guidelines, I don't care enough to read your pages, which makes it sound kind of mean. But then also, make sure at least the first 50 pages are super clean. Don't occasional typos are fine. I'm a terrible proofreader of my own work, and I often send emails with typos in them, even to my authors. But I would say make sure that it's as clean as it can be, because we don't have the bandwidth to do a lot of heavy editing. So we're usually taking books that are already very polished.
Mhm.
And if it's really messy, that we're probably not going to pick it up. We might say we like the concept, or we love the first 50 pages, but it's, you need to clean it up and resend it if you want. So stuff like that, I think, and we don't do science fiction. We don't do genre fiction. So don't send science fiction. I love to read it, but we don't publish it. So again, if you send me science fiction, I'm going to feel like you didn't even take the time to research our press to know that that's not what we do. And we probably wouldn't be a good partner for you, and you for us either at that point. So yeah.
What is the greatest thing about the work that you're doing now, living the editing and writing life, versus what you were doing before this change?
Well, so you might remember, but before this, I had a consulting business because my PhD is in research, and I was doing research consulting for universities, and I was traveling a lot, but I'd been doing it for 20 years, and it just wasn't, I could do it in my sleep. I wasn't learning anything new really. And it just kind of, it was a great way to make a living. But then when I started our MFA program, I'd gotten a couple short stories published, and I really kind of enjoyed the creative part of all that. So I think what I like about what I do now is, I don't know everything about publishing. I've only been with Regal House since 2018, and I'm learning something new every day, which is really fun. And I get to read for a living, which I love. It's my favorite thing to do anyway. And then, yeah, I think those two things. I get to read, and I'm learning new things all the time. It feels challenging. It feels really challenging.
Do you still have a lot of time to read outside of the work that you do?
I do. I do. I read a lot. In fact, I always put on my email response my reading list for the month. I always have a monthly reading list. And so I mostly get through all that reading list. So I'm trying to read like another book a week. I'll kind of have one with me. Sometimes I'm listening to, you know how it is. You walk the dog or you go to the gym or something, I might have one on audio or Audible and listen to that. Um, and I just got, it was my birthday last week. I'm a Leo, and my husband got me Ann Patchett's new book, Tom Lake. So I have to add that to my reading list. It's already been set up for the month of August.
I found out that she published her first book before she went to the Iowa Writers Workshop.
She did?
Yes, I
Well,
found,
that is so cool.
yeah, so that's how hard it is to get in.
So
She,
I didn't realize, yeah, I did not realize that she went to the Iowa Writers Workshop, but I will say, so I went to Sewanee, I think it was 2018 or 2019, Sewanee Writers Conference, and she's on faculty there. She was not teaching that particular semester, but I got to hear, she did a reading and I was blown away. She was talking about mundane domestic things, like this woman was cleaning her curtains and this little boy was at the door. And I was like, how does she make that so good? If I wrote that, people would be like, who cares? It was about a woman cleaning her curtains and a boy was at the door. You know what I mean?
I felt the same way. I've got this friend named Matthew Turbyville. He lives in Lake City, and he knows all the same writers that I know, and he hates all the same ones that I do.
Oh, nice.
And he's the one that told me about Ann Patchett, and and so I thought that was interesting. He also used to do some writer blog. I can't remember. I'm sorry, Matthew, if you're watching this, but I can't remember um your blog. But they know your name now, so they can look for it.
That's right. Look at Matt. Is it Matthew Turberville?
Yes.
Okay, look it up. I'll look it up. I'm gonna write it down right now.
Okay. And then let's see. There was some another thing. Oh, I'm reading Tom Spambauer's novel, I Loved You More right now.
Oh, I
Um,
don't know it.
he wrote that book that got popular, The Man Who Fell in Love with the Moon.
Oh,
Remember that?
no, I'm not familiar with
Well,
him.
Tom Spambauer does dangerous writing in Portland. And his one of his
Oh.
students, he's got like 40 of them that are popular. One of them is Chuck Palahniuk.
Oh, really?
Is that
He
how you
wrote
pronounce
Fight
his last
Club. That's
name?
the Fight Club. Fight
Yes.
Club author. Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce his name? Chuck Palahniuk or Palahniuk?
Yeah. I think that's right. That's how I
Okay.
would say it.
I'm gonna go see him in September in Denver.
Really?
Yes. He
For
doesn't
a
know it
read.
yet, but I've already got my plane ticket. I'm gonna go see you, Chuck Palahniuk.
What's he do? Is he just doing what is he doing?
He's got a new book. He's published many books since Fight Club, and he's got a
Yeah.
new one out, and he's doing a reading. And so I'm gonna go hear him read.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool. I was going to ask you, do you remember at AWP in Portland when we met J. Ryan Stradall?
That I wasn't at the one in Portland. I think that was
Oh
DC.
no, that was DC. You're right. That was
Yeah.
DC. That he wrote The Kitchens of the Great Midwest. Anyway,
Yes.
he wrote a blurb for one of our books.
Oh, that's cool.
It's called Four Dead Horses, and four horses do die in this book.
Yeah,
So
we went to school with her.
yeah, that's right, Katie.
Yes. Oh, she was
So
cool.
she's great. She's so funny. She's really funny. But anyway, so yeah, but he's been so nice. He wrote one for another one of our authors, Mary Curla, and she wrote this book called, now I can't remember. That's so sad.
Hmm. But
Oh well.
we can look her name up.
Yes, Mary Curla.
Yeah, that book, Kitchens of the Great Midwest. Actually, I hadn't read it for class, but then you said how good it was, and so
Yeah.
I went and bought it, and it was so good.
Did you read the next one that was the Logger Queen of Minnesota?
I did not.
Oh, it's better.
It is?
It's so good. It's really good. It's like funny and dark, and it's got all the feels. Like it spans all the emotions. It's
Hmm.
really good.
Um, the that's interesting. I'm thinking about it now. My brain's going to overdrive. Um, but Tom Spambauer, that book that I'm reading, his books, the two books that I've read, he's got, I think, four novels. The Man Fell in Love with the Moon and I Loved You More. They're about 400 pages and they're kind of long books.
Mhm.
They're long and like the size of it, and they're about 400 pages. And there's something hard to read about them. I think the books are probably um they're literary fiction.
Yeah.
They're they do a lot of realism. They're a little transgressive. So the
Yeah.
characters are doing stuff that are highly unusual, not
Yeah.
necessarily quirky. It's just like, oh, private stuff.
Yeah.
And it really can like stress you out. I'm a little bit
Yeah.
stressed out reading this one. I actually took a break and
Yeah.
read like a
Yeah.
Julia Cameron book. Um,
Yeah.
she has a new one called Right for Life,
Oh, fun.
and I I like that writing about writing genre.
I do too. I do too. I
It's
like it a lot.
Well, this one is, I think this one, I recommend it because she writes a lot of her essays when she is in her library looking out at the moon coming up over the mountain. And that's how
Yeah.
she starts it. So it seemed like a nighttime book. So it's good to read right when you're going to bed. It was called
Yeah.
Right for Life.
Okay, right for life. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to write it down. I love that. I do like that too. And Matt Bell wrote one recently called, I feel like it's called like Never Be Done or something like that. But that's probably wrong. Anyway, it's a book about writing. It's basically about editing, but it's very good. It's very sort of systematic. Like it's good for an editor to read, but good for a writer to read too. And I
Cool.
always recommend it when I'm talking to people. I'm like, you should read Matt Bell's book about editing because it's very good.
All right.
But
Sounds
yeah, I agree with you. But I am not a finisher if I don't like a book. I'm never feel compelled to read all the way to the end. If I don't like it, my to read list is so long at this point. I'm just like moving on. So
I I'm gonna finish Tom Spambauer's book. I don't hate it. I just hate how it makes me feel. So
well, I mean, I feel like that's kind of the same thing. You know? I mean, if it's stressing you out and you hate the way it makes you feel, I mean, this sounds like a book I do not care to read.
well,
And I don't think you should either,
well,
Robert. Don't go back to
it's,
it.
it's it's like entertainment if you want to feel like crap.
Okay, I'm gonna look this up right now. But because I don't know this person.
It's like it's nihilism is probably what
Oh,
it is. And so it's not a bad book. It just the subject makes you feel bad.
what's it? How do you spell the last name? Is it Spanaur?
Um Spambauer, I think.
Oh, Spambauer.
And but I'm gonna read it, and plus that's Chuck's teacher and um
Yeah, you can see it is kind of interesting to see who taught the writers that you really like.
right.
But you might know this, and I won't mention any names, of course, but I think sometimes among writing teachers, they're better teachers than they are writers because you'll buy the book of a faculty that you really love, and you're like, eh. You're like, I mean, again, I mean, my hat's off. If you read a whole book and got it published, I mean, I'm impressed. But most often it's just like, that book is very well written, but that's just not my thing. That's just not a book I enjoy reading, kind of thing.
You did okay. That was a
Yeah.
good book. Um well, it is good that they're trying because Natalie Goldberg says never take advice from someone who isn't doing it anymore.
I think that's really good advice, actually. Although I will say, here's the thing. I had Pinckney Benedict as, my one of my first um, critical seminar, my critiques, my small group, large group experience. He was my small group teacher. And he is a great writer. So he's not one of the ones I was referring to. He's a fantastic writer. And he studied under Joyce Carol Oates. So but he also is an amazing, and he's an amazing teacher. I always talk about every time I talk about writing, I talk about Pinckney because I think, he just knows how to move you from point A to B in your work. He knows he can sort of pick out the things that aren't working in your work. And he's not always kind about delivering that kind of criticism, but in the end, it's like, oh, I get it. Okay, I get it. I get it now.
He made one of the students act out what I had written, and
Oh,
they ended up like putting a hand over their face and rising up from the table and snorting. And he said, "Did you intend to do that?" And I said, "No." Well, that's what you did. And so I always think about that now. So
Yeah.
I think he said
It,
something like simple is best. Keep it simple.
yeah.
They laugh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
No, I get, I do. I think that's true. But also just pacing and how to keep things tight. I mean, I don't know. That's a really difficult skill. I think this almost one of those things where you're just an intuitive storyteller and you kind of get it. Because sometimes we'll get a book and we're reading through it and, it's like, I know what it looks like for someone to brush their teeth. So you don't need to write out a whole paragraph about someone going into the bathroom, putting toothpaste on their toothbrush, brushing their teeth, spitting in the sink the way they always do, uh, you know, and their wife going, "Why are you so messy?" or whatever. It's like it's like I don't need the play by play, and it's like to me, and listen to me. Have I ever published a novel? No, but I will say there are like certain rules about good writing that you can't break until you really know how to write well. And I I don't know I don't know how people feel about that, but it's true. Please don't start your story with someone getting out of bed. I mean, we all wake up in the morning, we all get out of bed. So, unless that's a critical part of your story, we don't need to see your character getting out of bed. Please do not end your story by having your character wake up from a dream. It was all a dream.
yeah, that would be so disappointing. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate the advice that you're giving because we're coming up on the end of the interview. And at
Yes.
this point, Paul Leslie of the Paul Leslie Hour, that used to be a cool radio show and now it's a cool podcast, recommends that the guest take over the last little bit of the show. And the guest gets to say whatever is on her heart or her mind, knowing that what she says potentially has the opportunity to reach every ear on the globe and beyond.
Oh,
So, with that, Pam Van Dyke, with no
okay. Well,
pressure,
I thought I had already taken over the podcast. So, but now it's official. Now
now
I'm
it's
officially
official.
taking over the
It is
podcast.
yours.
Okay, so here's what I would say in my last couple minutes. I feel like, and this is about writing, because I feel like there are people out there who are like, I'm not really a writer, but they're writing all the time. They write every morning. They do morning pages or they keep a journal. If you want to be a writer, and by that I mean be able to call yourself a writer, you have to start calling yourself a writer. So when people ask you what you do, even if you have another job that you actually get paid to do, but you're writing and your aspiration is to get your work published out there, then you just say, I'm a writer. And when people ask you what you're writing, you tell them what you're writing. I'm working on short stories. I have an essay collection. Right now, I'm just pulling my ideas together in my morning pages, but my plan is to eventually come up with a short story collection, that kind of thing. So do that. Also, a word about rejection, and then we can wrap it up. If you send your work out, you will get rejected at some point. I mean, maybe you won't. I mean, maybe you'll send it out and everywhere you send it, they will want it. They'll want to read the full if it's a novel, or they'll want to publish it if it's a short story. But it's likely that you will get rejected at some point. And I would just say, think of that as free, free. It's like a free advice in a way, or free feedback. It's like, it's not for us, but it's also not personal. No one knows you. No one knows you personally. I mean, unless you send your work to me and I say to you, Robert, I can't publish this. That's going to feel personal. Please don't do that to me. Send it to the submittable portal if you want to submit your work. But I think the thing is, you have to just keep submitting it. And I'm saying this for all of the people out there who get that one rejection and decide they're no good at it and they give up. So keep submitting it. And if you keep getting rejected, go back to your work and look at it critically and ask yourself what you could change about it. How could it be better? What is it missing? But keep writing, because that's what you're doing. That's what you want to do. So keep doing it.
Thank you, Pam.
Those are my final words.
Thank you, Pam Van Dyke.
Thank you, Robert McCready. I loved seeing you and it was so much fun.
Thank you. Ditto.